Tell me what y'all know about this head wrap she wearing right here. Well, what about this head wrap she's wearing? Her? Now, these women all have something in common, right? One thing is that they're from Louisiana. As free colored women or free Creole women, they were forced to wear what you call a tignon. And you can see right here that the European just got flowers in her hair. She's not forced to wear the tignon like the sister in the back. So when the French gave up Louisiana to Spain in 1763, they wanted to force some laws because they seen too many free people of color just doing their thing. And the European women were jealous. Yeah, them crackers was hating, as always. The Tignon Law, also known as the Tignon Law, was a 1786 law enacted by the Spanish governor of Louisiana, Esteban Rodriguez Mirio, that forced black women to wear a tignon headscarf. The law was intended to halt play cage unions and tie free black women to those who were enslaved. But the women who followed the law have been described as turning the headdress into a mark of distinction. And notice the young sister right there, how she, styled her jaw with the flowers and all of that. Now, I know some of y'all like, what's play cage? Now, play cage was a system of informal unions between wealthy white men and free women of color in New Orleans during the antebellum period. The term comes from the French word placer, which means to place with. The system was known as extra legal, meaning it was not legally recognized. The women were not legally recognized as wives, but were known as placees. The men would provide the women with a house and income so they could maintain a lifestyle. The union sometimes lasted several years and often produced children. Now, in our community, in the colored community, we call that left-hand marriages. And it wasn't only the white boys participating in play cage, it was also free men of color, right? So it says, yes, some free men of color in New Orleans practiced play cage. Play cage was a formal legal arrangement that resembled marriage in practice. It originated with the French and continued under the Spanish. Play cage was particularly common when there was a shortage of white women in the colonies. Some Creole men of color objected to play cage because they believed it denigrated the virtue of the Creole women of color. However, some men who benefited from the play cage were descendants of white men. That don't mean all of them were, but some of them were mixed. And that's what made them Creole, among other things. Play cage was also a social institution that took place at quadroon balls where upper class white men and free women of color would meet. The term quadroon refers to women of color with one white and one mulatto parent. So let's get back to the tignon, right? So it says the Code Noir or Black Code was a French law that restricted the lives of people of color living in French colonies. It had first been created to apply in the Caribbean colonies in 1685, what was extended to Louisiana in 1724. Spanish authorities instituted a similar law first in 1769 and again in 1778. By 1786, Esteban Rodriguez Mirio was the Spanish governor of Louisiana. He disliked actions some black women had taken, considering them to show too much luxury right, in their bearing. White women began to urge Mirio to act to restrict the fashion of non-whites. So them bitches from the rip. Today they just do what their ancestors did, right? Because they used to really style their hair in braids and feathers and beads and pearls and all type of, beautiful thing, flowers and all. And them crackers couldn't compete. That's what it was. But you got sisters today that don't really love their hair like that, man. Talking about nappy hair this, nappy hair that. Man, y'all gotta stop it. Y'all hair is beautiful. You just gotta keep it, moisturized. You feel me? Show it love. That shit, juices and berries. But y'all have the most beautiful hair in the world. Let's get back to this though. Mirio added an item to a decree that he was already going to issue. The June 2nd, 1786 decree, formally titled, I'm not about to read that, or proclamation of good government, stated that the women of color had to wear a scarf or a handkerchief over their hair as a visible sign of belonging to the slave class, whether they was enslaved or not, specifying the negras, mulattas, Guataranas can no longer have feathers nor jewelry in their hair. Hey, man. Instead, they must wear their plain or wear plain nolos or some shit if they are of higher status as they have been accustomed to. Then this part goes on to say during the 18th century, laws restricting what black people could wear were not uncommon. Always hating. Miro hoped that the law would help placate unions. We already went over that, and tie free black women to those who were enslaved, while white women in New Orleans initially stopped wearing their hair in the style. Empress Josephine of France eventually adopted the headpiece, and it became considered haute couture in early 19th century before deceasing in popularity in the 1830s. So they made, basically what it is, you feel me, they was wearing their natural hair out in styles, you know what I mean, putting all type of decorations in it or whatever, and the white bitches was hating. They got a law passed on so they couldn't do that. Then they made them wear the Tignon, right? And they made the Tignon so fly that the empress in France started biting the style, right? That's how influential our women are in any age, in any time period in history. You feel me? Come on, man. Just like us men, you feel me? We are the creators and innovators of all this shit. But all right, it says Virginia Gould writes that the true purpose of the law was to control women who had become too light-skinned or dressed too elegantly, or who in reality competed too freely with white women for status and thus threatening the social class. She also noted that there is no evidence it was ever enforced, and the women, I can't say, who followed the law turned the hairdress into a mark of distinction. So basically, they try to hold y'all back, but you're still stunning on them. You heard? Peace, love, and power of my people.